Guten
What is
Tag.
going on, Marcus?
Nothing, not much. It's Wednesday.
It's good to see you, my
How's
friend. It's always
how
good to
is
see you.
life treating you? How is family?
Exhaustingly, man. I'm very tired, so it's one of those things. You know how it is.
I
How about
don't
you,
know.
man? You're busy. You're working away like
Busy.
a slave.
Yeah, working, normal work, and then trying to push out some videos. But this week, so far, not much. But I was very, very busy on the weekend. Yeah,
Mm.
all good. Can't complain.
Speaking of your content, I thought I would ask you about some of the videos that you've produced in the last couple of days. So
Okay.
the first one I'd like to ask is about Days Gone, if you don't
Yeah.
mind giving me a bit of a breakdown and catch up on what you've discovered with that.
I mean, it's a so-called remaster, and yes, of course, they changed a couple of things, but in just purely looking from a technical point of view, it's a little bit of a disappointment because
Okay, wow.
so just from a technical point of view, not from a design or design choice, because there is a big design change in regards of lighting and stuff like that, and the sky is different now in the night because you play the game also. There's a lot of night missions, okay? And in the previous game or original game, I personally found it actually too bright, actually. So there was not really a night feeling because you need to understand you play in a zombie world. There's power, but there's no street lights anymore. It's dark. And now it's just much better. I like this, especially with HDR. It looks now, wow, really, really great. But again, from a technical point of view, when we comparing resolution and stuff like that, it's actually really disappointing because the original PlayStation 4 version. So we're talking about PlayStation 4 version. When you put this disc into your PlayStation 5, you get a PlayStation 5 patch. Okay. And this version,
free of charge.
yes, correct. And this version actually looks better than the remaster version on the PlayStation 5. So not talking about Pro, not talking about the Pro. Okay, that's a different story. So this is interesting. Let's say like this, okay?
Because I did watch that video and I remember you saying if you own the PS4 version, just keep that and play that on the PS5. So that's kind of your final conclusion.
I mean, look. There are a lot of some people like the haptic feedback functionality on the joypads and stuff like that. I'm not the biggest fan of that, to honestly, but some people really like this. And again, there's the design changes. There are more hordes now where you can fight the hordes and stuff like that. And for sure, frame rate is better. So in general, yes, it's an okay upgrade, but I was expecting more in terms of graphic. It's just you're not getting anything because even the PlayStation 5 Pro version, and that's my opinion, is not as good looking as the PlayStation 4 version. And the reason is very simple because we have now with the enhanced mode PSSR on the PlayStation 5. Yes, PSSR makes the game in motion look a little bit sharper, okay, not as soft, but with PSSR, you have this noise on the picture all the time, which makes the picture then on top a little bit softer. It's a little bit of a, it's a little bit disappointing.
Very interesting. One of the first things I do on almost every game I play these days is turn film grain off because I find it just adds a layer of dirt. But that's very interesting. And the other, actually, just quickly, before we jump over to the other game, so I thought I'd just say thank you to Fred on your behalf, Marcus.
Thank you very much, Fred. Thank you very much, Fred. 83. Thank you very much for becoming a YouTube member.
Yeah, for supporting Marcus. That's fantastic. Andre, content, 2 professionals.
Yeah.
Love you, brother. Yeah, I know. It's a bit like, but take it, man.
No. We're just having fun. That's the thing.
And Christian Believer 12, thank you for joining us, everyone. So who is going to buy the S95F and peel off the anti-glare? I knew that question would come tonight. I was just wondering when, and it pretty much came straight away. So do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, you can support Ariel. He started a fundraiser or something like that for getting the S95F, and then he will peel it off. You can support him. I will not do this now. I'm not planning to buy the S95F anyway. I'm not planning to buy anything this year, maybe. But it's interesting. I mean that that just by removing this, I mean, yes, I mean it's actually.
Have you seen the videos?
Yes, I have seen it, and it's crazy. I mean, it's really then we have really a glare panel, then absolutely glare panel. But if you like this, yeah, go for it. I mean, I would not recommend to do it, honestly. I would not recommend. There was also Foremost video where he said it is very, very heavy with the chemicals. You know, you need to be in a very well ventilated room and have a mask on and whatsoever. So it's for sure not very healthy to do that. And I mean, you have always the risk that you destroy something. You know, there's because have you seen the video how you have to? It's not like the film. You know, you just peel it off. You have to a lot of force. You know, to get it off actually. So I would be very careful with that. But
yeah, well, you also have to, from what I'm seeing, is heat up the TV for a certain amount of time. I think they're saying 30 minutes minimum. Get the TV hot, and then what blows my mind is who is the maniac out there who figured this out? Like, can you imagine spending several $1,000s on an OLED TV, excuse me, and having the guts to like start ripping this coating off, hoping that is the coat. You know, that could have destroyed the whole screen.
What are you doing actually? Oh shit, this was the pixel layer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know how he actually. I don't know how he figured this out actually. If he just started doing this, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, someone out there took the shot for the community, so I'm sure we all appreciate that. But I was having a couple of conversations with different people offline, and we all had different opinions on it. I definitely think when you're spending that much money on a flagship OLED, at least in Australia, I don't know what the laws are like, the consumer rights over there, but once you touch that film,
I'm pretty sure you have no warranty anymore.
You're on your own, man. So if anything happens,
which is fair enough. I support the company on that.
Yeah,
because you know that's a big thing. No, that's how it is. But you do this on your own risk anyway. So everybody knows this.
Yeah, and what that means is essentially, say you've got a fault with something completely unrelated. So say you've got a faulty HDMI port, something goes wrong with the power supply, anything that's completely unrelated to that specific issue, you're on your own. So
correct.
It is a quite a significant undertaking and risk that you need to, I guess, come to terms with, that you're going to take that risk. So look, from what I've seen, it does look really nice. You know, getting that real deep black, and this is going to make me sound like a bit of a novice, and to an extent I am, but say my C1, where Ariel always talks about how good the screen looks because it's got so dark, right? Remember how he always goes on about that. So does that mean I'm sure my C1 would have some form of coating on it, right? Is that or is there? Sure. Yeah, so that's what I was trying to think, is like even the OLEDs with the best glossiest screens still have some form of coating over the top. They're not just like a blank glass like the S95F will be.
I think so. No,
because from what I saw in the reflections, it just becomes a pure mirror. It just looks too much for me unless you are in a pitch black room. It just doesn't look like a good choice to me. What do you think?
No, it's probably too much. But again, I mean, usually I recommend watching and playing videos on in a complete dark room. You know what I mean? Because of HDR anyway, you should do this. But I saw it, and it's literally like a mirror. I mean, and not like a mirror, but it's just too much, because even the glossy screens what we have are not that as glossy as the S95F without the matte screen, matte screen.
Matte. Yeah, it's from what I saw, it was just way too glossy. And look, for me, you know, obviously I do have a couple of rooms in the house. One of them is fully light controlled. One of them, obviously, it gets daylight and there's only so much I can do by closing blinds. So, you know, you know where my G4 is, right? Like I've got one section where it doesn't have direct light, but I've got indirect light coming into the room. And so for me, it's just in that kind of situation, you've got to have, in my opinion, it turns it into a TV that needs to have perfect conditions. Because if you're watching that TV, and not a lot of people can afford to have, you know, an OLED in every room. You know what I mean? So
yeah, of course.
it just, in my opinion, it turns that TV into a very specific tool. It needs to be in a specific room under very specific circumstances to get the best out of it. Look, in that situation, it looks like it would be the TV, the best TV you could get, but not everyone has a pitch black room to watch
and again,
TV.
I would not recommend to remove the anti-glare. I'm not recommending this. Have you seen Ariel's videos? He went to I don't know, Best Buy or whatever, and compared. They had a wall with TVs, and also the S95F and the S95T on the bottom. Yeah. And they actually, he said in the video that they reduced the brightness on the S95F to match the other TVs. So the brightness when he got the remote was set to 30, and they increased it to 100, and then, wow, this TV is bright. This is not normal. Unbelievable. I mean,
that was the F, right? The 95F?
The F, yeah. And it was beating the two LCDs on the side and the D by a lot, you know.
That's crazy, man. That is absolutely crazy. The first thing, I didn't watch the whole video, admittedly, but I did watch a large chunk of it. But the first thing that crossed my mind is, how the hell did he get his hands on a remote? I know at least in our big box stores, when we go to, there's no remotes, man. And they won't give you one if you ask for it either. So I'd like to know how he got his hand on a remote, or if he took his own one with him. But
because he looks so innocent. That's why. That's why. You know? I don't know him. Yeah. Okay. So what is this here? Do you guys feel that there is a high grain noise on the G4? I have just bought the 65-inch and noticed high noise. You need to elaborate this a little bit more. No. So the picture is clean for me when I have a proper content. There's no noise. But on the other hand, all the OLED TVs compared to an LCD have very, very fine noise if you compare this very, very close because of the organic pixels. But it should not be visible from a normal viewing distance, not at all.
The other way I've perceived that question is from my G4, no, I haven't noticed anything, but I have noticed some friends who have come to my house and say, watch some content on the G4 that they're familiar with. Because it is such a good display, sometimes things are more visible that you weren't aware before on, say, a cheaper TV, like some film grain that you weren't really seeing on like a cheap lower end TV. But when you go to a high end OLED, you see everything. So maybe like that's what you're thinking. There's some extra noise in the content, but if you want to elaborate on that, happy to go further into that.
But it's just a great TV. So if you have some noise, a crazy noise, then maybe check your picture settings, maybe whatever, try different content and break it in the TV, okay? Let it run for a couple of hours, of course.
Yeah, very good point.
Why does he sound Finnish? I thought, no, I'm not Finnish. I'm not done yet, okay? I stay. I'm not Finnish.
Well done. Well done.
I'm German, okay? I'm German. I sound like
I was going to say, man, he doesn't sound like anything else, so I don't know why you said Finnish, my friend. But Layback said, input lag on my G4 on PC mode is increased after an update, using DualSense Edge with the best possible settings and using game mode. Very interesting. Have you tried just turning off PC mode?
I'm not. Yeah. So I'm personally not using PC mode. I'm using the game mode.
I think the only reason you would use PC mode is you get 444 chroma.
You don't need to do this anymore. So that's the question. So you can now from the game menu, you can allow or you can activate 444, but maybe it's changing then into PC mode anyway or something like that. I haven't noticed this, and I'm not using it honestly. So, and it would be interesting why this would happen. What is the reason behind that?
Yeah, so I'm a bit confused. He's using PC mode, but he's using a DualSense Edge. So are you using a console or a PC when you're connecting?
You can use the DualSense with a PC as well.
That's why I said, are you using a DualSense with a PS5 or are you using a DualSense with a PC? So something to think about there if you want to follow up with that one. Another question from Bruno Gerald. I hope I got that correct. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, guys. Regarding the VRR problem on the PS5 that you mentioned in an older video, it's affecting cutscenes too. In Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 or Silent Hill 2, it stutters a lot now. Is it possible?
It is probably possible, yeah. So I made this video about this 8 seconds VRR stuttering issue. So every 8 seconds, you're losing a frame or whatsoever. It doesn't sound much, and honestly, I mean, of course, when you play a game and when you're really into this game, you probably won't notice this at all. But it can be noticeable in certain games, where suddenly, you just have one little stutter. It can be annoying, if it's every 8 seconds, but it's still present. I think there's no patch so far, and as far as I understand, it's just affecting PlayStation 5 and Pro. So it's purely a PlayStation issue, as far as I know.
Yeah, that is interesting. So I'm assuming it's just come with a more recent firmware, and that's caused the problem. I don't know why they won't deliver a patch for that. It should be relatively straightforward to fix something so small like that.
Depends, because not all the games, according to some, are actually having this problem. So if it's a PlayStation problem, then it should be fixed very simply or easily or very soon. You know what I mean? But if it's a combination from both, then it's probably a little bit more complicated. Sure. But again, this just shows that in general, the Xbox, there was never problems like that. You know what I mean? They have just a complete different kind of VRR. That's how it is. That's why VRR is just much better on the Xbox.
Yeah. Are you sure it's actually related to VRR? So just excuse my ignorance. If you disable VRR, does the problem go away?
It's going away, apparently. So I haven't seen it then. With a stable 60 FPS or 120 FPS game, I can't see any issues then. But again, it's probably so that the problem is because sometimes you can't even see it. It really depends on the game. You just see it on the frame rate counter. That sometimes it jumps to 120. So it means it's disabled. So it's in some games very obvious, and in some games you can't even notice it.
Interesting. Okay. So let's quickly jump over. As Wilco, I thought the skill up was a skill up with that mustache. I'm trying to copy Marcus. He had one the other day, I'm pretty sure, man.
What?
So yeah.
No.
Okay, so using a PS5 Pro and using PC mode for full chroma resolution and using a wired DualSense Edge. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, but does the PS5 Pro output in full chroma? I didn't think they did that. So there's kind of redundant for you using the PC mode settings. It's not necessary.
It's actually look, I mean, the problem is but even when you use RGB, so as soon the thing is, the internal signal handling probably from the G4 will most likely handle everything with 444 chroma then. Even, but again, if this is if you can see a difference, I doubt it, because the problem is, as soon you enable you have a 120 hertz game or a 120 FPS game combined with VRR, HDR, whatsoever, you don't have full RGB anyway. You have 442, 422, or 420 in the worst case. So I'm not using this feature. This is very interesting for if you're using this with PC and you like to have the best possible picture quality. But I'm not using it even with my PC. I'm using game mode, and I never had any problems. And it's fine. Yeah. But the option to have is good.
Yeah, look, obviously having the option to choose that is great from the TV perspective, but from everyone who knows what they're talking about, pretty much playing console, there's no need for that PC mode.
I mean, I would need to do another comparison with the G4, because back then I did the comparison with was it the CX or G2? I can't remember, but I did the comparison and I said couldn't find any difference actually between those two modes. You know what I mean? So I recorded the TV and looked very closely, but maybe the G4 is much better and it makes sense actually. Maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
So as Wilco 1997, once again, thank you for everyone joining us this wonderful evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. So how does a gaming PC hooked up to a G4 look? Thinking about swapping over from console soon. That is a Marcus question. Perfect. I don't own a PC.
Perfect. I mean, it depends on the content, but it's like I'm using this as a monitor. I'm doing all my editing here and whatsoever. I'm even hooking up my MacBook to this screen. It's just perfect, it's the same as console, just with better graphics, of course. It's no doubt. It's working perfectly, flawless. Just go for it. Do it.
Yeah. I think the G4 is a fantastic TV. It's interesting because I am trying to sell my G4 83-inch at the moment on a secondhand markets. Got about 600 hours on it, which is not much. Extended warranty till like 2029, all that stuff included. I'm selling it for, considerably less, like I would say probably 40% less than what I paid for it. And no one wants it, and then just people criticize me, and the amount of abuse I've got trying to sell that TV, I don't understand why. Kind of on a bit of a tangent here, but man, the G4 is just such a great TV, and so many people, why are you selling it? Why are you selling it? It's because I want to buy the G5.
Yeah, but, I got also some hate when I said I paid $70, actually $75 for the Days Gone remaster, and it's always because I'm always forgetting that I just put $75 in, and then people jump, it's not $75, it's $50. Say, oh yeah, I'm in Australia, I'm sorry. I know it's $50.
I was wondering why you're getting hate for that.
You. Oh, because people, I don't know, excuse me, but some people are stupid. What I'm doing with my money is none of your business, you know what I mean? And I explained it then, actually. I had the PlayStation 4 original version, but at some point I traded it in for other games. So it was it was gone. And the PlayStation Plus or whatever version, you can't upgrade to the remaster. And honestly,
really?
No, it's not possible. And that's always what Sony is doing. You have to buy actually the original game to get the patch or whatsoever. And I'm happy to support Ben Studios because I like to have a sequel. You know what I mean? Even it's probably never happened, but if we are not spending money on that and supporting the studio, then it will for sure not happen.
Of course. Quick question here from Mr. Walker to Mr. Marcus. Question: Have you thought about another comparison between OLED and LCD, but using a high-end flagship from Hisense or TCL instead of mid-range? Curious. So basically, he's saying, do you want to do that same video, OLED versus LCD, but get a high-end? Also,
the video
like a high-end TCL or Hisense.
I mean, look, now I'm not planning to buy any LCD TV. Honestly, I'm not wasting my money on any LCD TV, full stop. And I'm using the word wasting, okay? No, I don't want to do this. But it was just a video because I had this TV and I was curious because I use this TV sometimes, and I was happy with the picture quality. Of course, the black level on this TV, because it's edge lit or whatever, is terrible. But in general, and when I had friends over and we played on the Xbox, you know what I mean? Someone used this TV, it was fantastic. And I was just wondering, so what is actually the real difference here comparing those two? And I had to say, yeah, the G4 is a fantastic TV, and I would never like to miss that, but the other TV is absolutely usable. I was actually surprised that there's not a much bigger gap, actually, honestly. But
well, when we did our video couple of weeks ago, Marcus, when you were here at my place, we did the bigger TV, better gamer, which has not come out yet. Did you ever get a chance to go down onto the smallest LCD TV or not?
I don't know. I kept losing all the time, so that's why.
You kept losing, so you kept going to the bigger TV.
Yeah.
Because the reason why I'm saying that is because I was winning most of the time, so I was always on the crappiest TV. And do you remember me complaining about my eyes hurting?
Yeah.
And I just remember like playing on an OLED and then going down to like a small 4K and then a 32-inch HD TV. I just remember like the TV was hurting my eyes. So yeah, for me, it's a huge difference. So it's very, very hard to kind of call them even close.
The screen, of course, is important. And you're right. I mean, all the screens, what we tested in this video, and it will be a fantastic video, I'm pretty sure. There was such a big difference in picture quality. And you're absolutely right. You looked at the screen and said, oh my God, this really hurts. What is going on here? And this is out of the box setting, That's what's important, because that's what people doing. They're buying a TV, turning it on, because not all the people, I mean, we are the nerds here, you know what I mean? My brother, when he's buying a TV, he's he's putting batteries in the remote, and that's it. From a technical point of view, he will turn it on, and that's it. If this is in vivid mode or sport mode, he will watch this. That's how it is.
The first thing they do is just log on to the Netflix app. They don't care about anything else. But yeah, it's actually interesting you say that, because on quite a lot of my videos, I get an extreme amount of negative comments regarding, oh, you didn't change this setting, you didn't set this up, did you calibrate it? And I try to reiterate to people, at least on my channel, in layman's terms, like I kind of live by that title, in layman's terms, which means it's simplified. At least in our country, Australia, there's no calibrators around. No one calibrates TVs unless you do it yourself. So I try to just go for that. Like 99% of people aren't calibrating. You know, you've only got the option to do out of the box settings and adjustments that way. So we actually have 2 videos coming up as well, where I got Marcus to reset my OLED to factory settings and do just an eyeball calibration. And I also got you, Marcus, if you remember, to reset my 100-inch LCD TV and do basically a eyeball calibration. So they'll be coming out shortly. But let's just quickly jump over to this one. So Andre Content says, yeah, I've been noticing a lot of film grain on the G4 up from upgrading from the C2. My sharpness is down in brightness max on HDR, so maybe just a unit defect. How many hours, man? Like, I don't think it's a defect, man. Like I said, you will see on a high-end TV, a lot of, I guess, what's the word? A lot of imperfections you will see as your TV gets better. So especially on, older content or even modern content. Like one thing I hate is like some of the modern movies, they make these beautiful, crisp new movies in HDR, and then they just slap this ugly film grain over it. I'm like, man, I just hate how they've ruined that. So if you've ever watched Seinfeld on Netflix, Seinfeld is one of the worst.
But it's not on every episode. You know what I mean? Some of them are really good, or different scenes, They're switching between scenes, and then one is with film gram, the other one is absolutely sharp, and I was, what the hell?
Yeah, man. My Seinfeld DVD box set looks better than the Netflix version because they've slapped that film grain on it. So, yeah.
No, but this is just get the TV a couple of hours, let it break it in with a couple of HDR video content, whatever, and then test again. You should have a perfect picture, actually, but it really depends on the content, of course.
We'll give it time. I remember when you first unboxed your G4, you had a lot of complaints around screen uniformity and things like that, but it's obviously resolved itself now over time, right? It's improved.
It's still not as good as the G2.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so by the way, Returnal got a PS5 Pro patch today. Awesome.
I will look into
thank you for joining us. Yeah. This is a great comment. So LG needs to start sending you guys free OLEDs to test. Wouldn't that be great?
Then the new 130-inch 8K G6.
Man, I'm actually in my studio. I'm starting to get a bone pile of TVs. So for a couple of videos, I usually have to go out and buy a TV specifically for a video, and then it just sits there, and I'm starting to get a pile of TVs because they're all smaller screens. I don't have a use for them. And you go to sell them, if you paid, say, $1,500, you put it for sale, somebody goes, I'll give you $200. So, I'd rather just keep it. But yes. Yes, the PS5 and PS5 Pro do output full chroma resolution until 60 Hertz. I always prefer quality mode in every game. That's why I use PC mode. I did not know that, so that's new information to me.
No, but also the Xbox is doing this.
At 60 Hertz, so once you go above that, is that due to a bandwidth limitation?
Bandwidth, yes, correct,
Yeah, every time you say bandwidth, I always hear sandwich. Bandwidth. I always hear sandwich.
Sandwich, because of the sandwich.
Yeah.
It's Marcus with a K, by the way.
I know. Chad, hi everyone. Just finished Indiana Jones on the PS5 Pro. Great game. I hear they're going to make another. And Chad,
really?
I played that on the Series X. What a banger of a game. I absolutely loved it. Marcus, I would dare say you have not played it from start to end because you just do testing.
Yeah,
man, you've got to start enjoying games rather than just analyzing games.
Quit my job, really, to have more time. I know. No, but I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward for 5th of June, Switch 2.
Yes,
all the Zelda games. I'm starting to play. I don't know which Zelda game I play first, but I hope we get perfect upgrades. 60 FPS, better textures, whatsoever. Better than Days Gone upgrade or remaster, whatever you want to call this. And then I'm going to play Zelda. That's it.
I'm super excited, man. I'm actually considering upgrading because my current 100-inch TV has HDR, but it doesn't do anything above 60 hertz. And sounds silly, but I'm actually looking at moving it on and purchasing another 100-inch that supports the higher frame rates. That's because that's my Nintendo Switch TV. But yeah, very excited for that. So let's jump on. Is there any more questions, or shall we continue?
Oh, we can just continue.
Sure.
There are always questions.
I'll just jump on. I just saw Chris. Hey, Chris, thank you for joining us. So Chris was thankfully one of the guys that pointed out that the S95F had the screen peel modification that you could do. And yeah, that's you missed out, Chris. We were discussing that earlier, man. And just to quickly rehash on that, Marcus. So we were kind of saying it just looked a little bit too glassy, mirror-like.
Yeah,
is that And it just seems like once you do that peel, you kind of need to have
go back.
Perfect. Yeah, you can't go back, but you need to have absolutely perfect conditions to enjoy that. You need a complete pitch black room to enjoy that, because otherwise it's just too reflective, in my opinion. In a room in the daytime, say if it's like a general use TV, your family uses it during the day, in the evening, I think it'll really suffer.
Look, the S95F is really, really bright, but still, it's just not. At some point, it's too much. Honestly, I think I'm looking forward for proper comparisons between the G5 and S95F, and maybe we will see even comparisons with the film peeled off on the S95F. Maybe, I'm not sure. That's what's interesting.
Yeah, and the other point we were discussing is that essentially, once you do that peel, as I said, at least for Australia, there is no going back. So if you have a faulty power supply, HDMI port fails, a software problem, anything that requires a technician in Australia, they will say, bye-bye, you're on your own.
But you think someone will notice?
I actually think that if a technician isn't really paying attention, if the TV looks good, the screen works, they might just... Okay, it's another OLED.
No, because it's very. If a technician doesn't know that's an S95F and why is it looking that, I mean, maybe it's not even. Anyway, don't do it. Okay, don't do it.
Yeah. Christian Believer says, Marcus, 65-inch is too small for a TV, and you suck.
That's what she said. It depends. Yeah. It depends how far you sit away. Okay, but I agree. Better, bigger is of course better. Also what she said.
I just wish the cost of a 97-inch OLED wasn't the cost of 383-inch G4s. So
that's the thing,
I could literally purchase 4 G4 83s or G5 83s for less than a single 97-inch OLED, which is criminal. So I don't know what they're thinking there, but it's not fun. Sorry, Marcus, you go ahead.
Indiana Jones with path racing on PC version looks insane. Absolutely correct. It's even running okay with just my 4080. Of course you can't expect. It's running fine. Perfectly playable, honestly. But it looks absolutely fantastic. But I said this already back then when I compared this with the Xbox version, because the Xbox version is butter smooth. There's no stuttering, nothing, and it's very, very crisp and sharp. No aliasing, nothing. They did a really, really good job. When you look at other games like Oblivion now, okay, it's a remaster. I get this, but it's so blurry, this game. It does look much better than the 20-year-old game, and yes, we should expect that, But there are other games out like Expedition 33. Have you played this? The gameplay is really, really good, but the game is the graphic is so soft on the Xbox because of Unreal Engine again. It's not another Xbox issue. It's the engine issue. It's very, very smooth. There's no stuttering, nothing, but the picture is so soft, unbelievable. I don't know, this Unreal Engine, the more I hear about this, every time when I when there is a new game announced and they're saying it's Unreal Engine, I say, oh, so no HDR, a soft picture, traverse stuttering on the PC, great.
Do you remember when they were advertising the PS5, they showed you that Unreal demo and they were showing the nanite engine and all the detail on the rocks and all this stuff, and we were all like, wow, this is it, next gen is here. So and just quickly discussing PS5, I was actually going to ask you this offline, but I figure I'll ask it now. I'm starting to see a bunch of secondhand PS5 Pros go for sale, like on just trading websites around my area, and I was just going to ask you, like, what's your opinion? Is it worth getting one, or it's not?
No, because it's just look. There are games. I said this many times. There are games where you can clearly see a difference between the base PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro. But games like Days Gone Remaster, there is no, and I don't know why they're calling it enhanced mode. I'm very sorry. The enhanced mode, from a technical point of view, a resolution point of view, and stuff like that, looks exactly identical like the PlayStation 4 version, running in the backwards compatibility mode. So I know I got a lot of heat, for this video, but most of the people are actually agreeing with me. There's no, that's lazy developers probably as well. You know what I mean? Because they can do more. Because we have seen games like the Crew Motorsport, for an example.
Yes.
The base PlayStation 5 are very blurry picture, soft picture, and the PlayStation 5 Pro absolutely sharp. So this is like almost a day and night difference. So the PlayStation 5 Pro can offer a really better experience, but it's too expensive. And most of the games, there's not much difference, unfortunately. So we would probably wait a little bit longer for proper releases, maybe.
Would you say like the disparity between the Series S and X is like much greater than the 5 and the Pro, right? Because at least when I'm playing my Series S, I can clearly see the degradation in graphics, fidelity, quality, and all that kind of stuff. You can often maintain similar frame rates, but you can certainly see the price you pay. But the gap is much smaller between the 5 and the Pro than it is the S and the X, correct?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I don't think the S was a good idea. Even it's here mounted on the wall, but it's not a good idea from a developer point of view. Of course, I bought my little one also the S instead of the X because it's available and it's much cheaper, and he doesn't need the best of the best. That's for me. But from a developer point of view, it's just a nightmare in my opinion.
I agree with that, but I also can see the flip side of it. I think it's more of a gateway console, because say you're a PS5 guy, you're very loyal, very committed. You can pick them up secondhand for less than half price quite often. You can easily jump into one, sign up for Game Pass for a free trial, and you just get this huge catalog of games. But then, because it's only got 512, well, most of them gigabyte of storage, you run out of that storage real damn quick. So yeah, I can certainly see what Microsoft were trying to do. They were trying to give PlayStation committed people a cheap way into their ecosystem to try the games, but you're obviously sacrificing that. Chad, oh no, Adam, you are smoking a cigar in your own home. How dare you? It's funny, Chad. I mentioned that to Marcus offline earlier before we started the stream, thinking, I can't believe someone actually got upset about me having a cigar in my own home. I just thought that was hilarious. So it's funny you bring that up, man. So good one, brother.
I have to admit, I like the smell from a good cigar compared to cigarettes. Cigarettes are just smell. I used to smoke a lot when I was younger. I used to smoke almost 2 packs, a day.
Wow, that's
crazy.
That's a lot. 2 packs.
That's a lot. And but I have to admit, a nice cigar smell is something different. And
and for people who don't know, generally speaking, you don't inhale a cigar. You just enjoy the flavors in your mouth. So I used to be an ex-smoker as well. I have 1 or 2 a week, man. I love it when I'm relaxing. So anyway, back on topic. We're going off topic again. Okay, let's go.
I started doing Taekwondo again.
Oh,
my goodness. Yeah, I used to do it a lot. Again, when I was younger, I didn't smoke when I did this. And I almost every day Taekwondo. And I got my second class, on the weekend. Oh, fuck. fucking hell, I'm so old. I tell you, unbelievable. All the little, not little, teenagers or whatever, my size, like, a smaller you know what I mean? But still, and they're not even breathing, I'm after 5 minutes, I'm like a steam train,
Old age.
and they, yeah.
Old age, brother. Old age.
But it's fun. It's good.
It is. I'm glad you're doing something. It's always good to put some health in your regimen. So Mr. Walker says, please don't peel off the film on an S95F. Just get an
please do it.
S90F. So Chris said, yes, I agree. I'm sticking with the S90 for now. It's way too reflective. Okay, that was not related, but yeah, it's a very hot topic, this screen peel.
Again, I would not recommend to do it. I would not recommend to do it, because at the end, and Chris is right, the videos what I have seen, it's way too reflected after that. It's way too reflective, because you purely have probably then the glass, the security glass before actually the panel starts, or whatever you call this. That's the pure. There's nothing. It would be the same when you try to peel this off from any other TV. If it is possible, I would not recommend it. Get the S90D then. Yeah,
peel the film off any of the LG, because they do have some film on there, don't they? Like all the LG OLEDs, there is something. It's not just straight a sheet of glass.
No, there must be something. But I mean, there is something on for sure, because otherwise it would be also like a mirror. But I don't know if it is possible. Maybe it's a different technology, how they made it or whatsoever. I don't know. Honestly.
It's just amazing, though. It just tells you, at least from an enthusiast perspective, how much of a wrong turn Samsung have made with this matte anti-reflective coating. People despise it, but that must raise the question. They're doing it, so it must mean that some people like this look. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, the problem is always we're just in our bubble. You know what I mean? In our YouTube bubble, and we have different opinions to a million other people's. That's absolutely fine. So I'm pretty sure Samsung is doing their market research, and they know exactly what people want. You know what I mean? That's what they're doing.
I just feel like they're trying to differentiate. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just feel like Hisense, TCL, all these Chinese brands are coming up with such cheaper competitive products that are doing so well and performing so well. Obviously they're not an OLED, but they're slapping this matte coating on their LCD TVs as well. And I feel like it's just for them to try and differentiate, because the market is getting so competitive now, just like the cars. China is making a huge push on everything. So I really feel like it's it's just a move they're trying to make, but I just don't see it. Maybe maybe you're right. Maybe we're the idiots and everyone else is just buying it because it's a Samsung. I know so many people that will go to a store and they're not looking at a high-end TV. They just go straight to Samsung. Even if they don't want the QD OLED, they just want an LCD cheap TV. They'll spend twice on a Samsung when they could get something for half the price and just the same as like a TCL or a Hisense. You know what I mean? People are quite brand loyal. But I'll let you get to this super chat.
Thank you very much for this. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Face.
Forza 5 and Assassin's Creed Shadows, huge difference with PlayStation 5 Pro versus Series X and PlayStation 5. I fully agree. So I haven't seen Forza 5, and no, I'm not planning to do any videos on that anymore. It's just too late from a publishing point of view, in my opinion, because no one will be interested anymore in this. That's my experience with YouTube. But I fully agree. Assassin's Creed, PlayStation 5 version, just the RTGI lighting, what you have on top makes a huge difference. And this is what I'm talking about in regards of the power of the PlayStation 5. Why is this not happening with Days Gone, for an example? To have a much better I mean, yes, they changed the lighting, but I think it's just a color tone change. It's not like an RTGI whatever lighting. It's not. Okay, so why they're not doing this and using the power of the PlayStation 5? Not quite sure, but you're right. This is great examples. PlayStation 5 can deliver if they do it. Thank you very much again.
Yeah. So here's another one. Just says, as Wilco says, I've been disappointed with the PS5 Pro, especially with Bethesda games, as some games just look identical with no extra features used. And with the new Doom game approaching, which I'm super excited about, that's like I don't get excited about too many games. Doom is high on my list. I would expect the Pro to have a reasonable improvement over the 5. What do you think? Are you finding that there's not much of a difference?
It depends. So look, that's my thoughts actually. If they just always going for a higher resolution, then you won't notice anything, because honestly, if we comparing Xbox, PlayStation 5 games on this TV and we're sitting in a normal viewing distance, even let's say the Xbox is offering 200 pixel more, you can't see this. There's no way you can see this, okay? So it may look a little bit sharper, but it's it. But if you use technologies like RTGI or some ray tracing stuff or whatever, what the PlayStation 5 can deliver, that's something what you can see. So I'm not sure. Let's see what we're getting with Doom.
If I recall, and the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, Doom Eternal had 3 graphic settings. So it had quality with ray tracing and then high frame rate, which kind of like, I was like, really? You're going to make me choose between 3? And like with that type of game, it always has to be a high frame rate. There's just no other way. But yeah, that was I just feel like that's confusing consumers, in my opinion. It's just it's not helping anyone.
No,
okay,
it would be, and I would be great if we have a 30 FPS quality mode.
Doom in 30 FPS.
Hey, wait. Okay, I'm not. We do a special stream if there's a 30 FPS mode.
Jeez, yeah.
Wait.
Okay, so let's just jump on to. We'll go to this one from Chad. Days Gone dev Bend Studio needed a quick buck, I guess, after Sony cancelled their live service game.
So what was the live service game actually? What did I miss actually? Because honestly, I haven't looked, I don't know, when I looked actually at YouTube or news in the last couple of days. I didn't. I have no idea actually. I just learned about the Returnal patch because I opened X or Twitter. And it popped
okay, there you go. From Christian Believer 12 says, I would upgrade my A95L in the future, but selling your TV in Germany is too damn difficult. Let me tell you, man, in Australia, it's the same thing. I'm selling an 83-inch G4 and I put my ad up. I've been very honest with, 600 hours, extended warranty, nothing wrong with it. And people just want it for next to nothing. So I think it's just one of those things. When you go in, you've got to just know, okay, you're going to pay top dollar and you're just going to run that TV into the ground unless you've got money to burn. It's selling TVs is very tricky.
No, it's
very tricky. SMS. Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for joining us again. Thank you so much. And Sotonist Xbox expansion cards were expensive.
Yeah.
Yes, they still are expensive. So it's
just one brand, or what are more brands now?
Look, in terms of it's like a pro and con. In terms of the PlayStation, you have more variety. You can get some expansion cards, SSDs, M.2s when they're cheaper, all that stuff. But I just love the fact that from launch, Microsoft had their expansion cards ready, and it's just so easy. You just insert it in the back, and it's done. You don't need to pull apart your console. So there are pros and cons. But yeah, that's they're very expensive. I think they originally had them with Seagate only, and now they're expanding to other brands or something like that. So they might start.
I never bought it because it was so expensive, and I said no. For this price, I rather download it whatsoever now.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the next one for Marcus. Here we go. So the Pro is the main reason I'm thinking of swapping to a PC, because I'm getting tired of they're still targeting 30 or not updating older games automatically.
So I think that the biggest problem what we're seeing with this generation, and for the next one maybe as well, is Unreal Engine, in my opinion. That's such a disappointment, compared to this great tech demos, which, by the way, always running with a low frame rate. And yes, they're looking fantastic, but this is nothing you can play. They can use the whole power from the console just to put this in a tech demo, but then in a game you need also power for all the other stuff, not just for graphics,
That's right.
So that's why Unreal Engine is a big problem. And having 30 FPS still in 2025 is, I don't know. I would like to jail people, really, if they're doing this. I mean, honestly, I mean, a GTA 6 will have most likely a 30 FPS mode.
Oh, I hope not, man.
But I would even say, because the development started years ago, that's probably a last big game I would like to see with 30 FPS. Moving on after that, so PlayStation 6 should never see a 30 FPS at all. Never. But we will have it, because Unreal Engine 6 will destroy PlayStation 6 again in terms of performance. It's not good.
I'll let you jump on this one, Marcus. I've just got to jump off for a couple of minutes, so I'll be right back.
No worries. PlayStation 5 Pro with an OLED just game on PC for that price. I mean, look, here in Australia, the PlayStation 5 Pro is 1,200 or 1,300 Australian dollars. Okay, so that's almost twice. I just look it up before I say it, but it's almost twice as the base PlayStation 5. That's why, from my point of view, the PlayStation 5 Pro is too expensive. I know in the US it's a different story. There's the price gap not as big. Complete different story then. Okay. Complete different story. But looking at here, just give me a second, just to make sure I'm not telling you any BS. Where's PlayStation 5? 1,200 Australian dollars. So no disk drive, no stand, nothing. Okay. And the normal version, disk drive is available again, $124. I paid $170. Anyway, and the base PlayStation 5, where is she? And you get the base PlayStation 5 Slim with Fortnite. Okay, with Fortnite for $680. Okay, so that's almost twice as much. Or PlayStation 5 Pro is twice as much as a Slim. It's too much. Full stop. Too much. And by the way, the Switch, is just $769 with Super Mario Kart, with the new Mario Kart. That is crazy. And let me ask you a question. Is the Switch now sold out in the US? Yes or no? Because it's still available here in Australia. It was never sold out. It's not sold out here, which makes me thinking, either we have just much more stock, or no one wants to buy it, because it's literally 769 Australian dollars for Mario Kart bundle, or $700 without any game. $700. That means you pay for the Switch 2 more than for the base PlayStation 5. That's anyway. I pre-ordered, okay, because HDR. Not sure if this is worth it, but anyway. Okay, let me jump through the comments. I really like to know what this live game was. They fixed the PSSR. Oh no, there was a video. Yes, I made a video. It's much better after the hotfix. Yes, you still have a little bit of bending, but it's actually not worth to mention anymore, in my opinion. Let's have a look here. Just a bit of fun. Don't get the appeal for PlayStation 5 Pro. How long till PlayStation 6, you think? Probably at least 2 years. Another 2 years, at least another 2 years, in my opinion.
Apologies for that.
You're back. Oh my God, Snap. We had so much fun, and now he's back. Oh, shit.
Sorry, guys, for raining on the parade. Here we go.
So, wait. What is this? 30 FPS gaming would be a funny YouTube channel. I don't know. Maybe 1 million subscribers within a couple of days, probably. Yeah. But no, I don't like it.
And Russell, yes, I do use a humidor. If that's if Cigar Man, you're referring to me. It's just it's a box that has you store your cigars in. It kind of manages the humidity and the temperature. Yeah, one of those things. All right, so
hey, Werner, how are you? Like deployed, absolutely.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you very much.
Yes, you're right. I heard Oblivion on PC is Unreal Engine 5. Is it the same for PlayStation 5? Yes, it is also for Xbox and whatever. So the old engine, Unreal Engine is running on top of the old engine because all the scripts and stuff like that running on the old engine still, and they just slapped Unreal Engine on top. And yeah, it looks good. It looks good, but performance is just terrible. And thanks God, Digital Foundry actually confirmed it, because I got, again, so many nice comments, you have no idea what you're doing, you wait for the... whatever, you know what I mean. Anyway.
You do that so well.
Yeah. Anyway.
Funny. So,
okay, wait. Let me get this. They didn't say what live service game. Oh, it was not. So they were working on a live service game. And then Bluepoint Demon Souls remake had their God of War live service game canceled. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look.
Studios first party Sony? Are they first party?
Is it a first party studio?
Because couldn't they, if they weren't, they could just go and take that title over to Microsoft, couldn't they?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm not quite sure. I don't think it's a first party studio, actually. I mean, not aware. I mean, you would actually need to tell me what is a second game from Ben's studio, honestly. And I don't understand why we're not getting a second part for so many crap games. We're getting a sequel, we're getting download contents, for so many crap games. But for a game like that, where I mean, yes, the gameplay, I get it. It was not a AAA game from a gameplay perspective, and it was a little bit long. That's why I stopped playing at some point, because it was just dragging the story, in my opinion. But the idea and how the graphic and the whole world was just fantastic, in my opinion. So I demand a second part. That's it. Ben Studios.
You're referring to Days Gone, right?
Yes, Days Gone.
So if people in the chat, I'm actually looking at purchasing the Days Gone PS5 remastered. I've never played it before. So if people can just let me know if it's worth a play or not. Somebody said to me, it's too open world, it's really slow and all that kind of stuff. So any feedback, that would be wonderful, whether I should get it or not. So here we go, man. So this is an interesting comment. So from Gaz Goodtime, I'm in Ireland and was going to buy a PS5 Pro, and they were almost 900 euros. No way I'm paying that. Greed is a terrible thing. That's 900 euros retail? Is that due to any specific reasons? That's insane.
This is way more expensive than here in Australia. I mean, that's Euro prices. I mean, you in Ireland, you earn tons of money. No, I'm just kidding. Of course not. But this is probably, is everything that expensive in Ireland? Probably. Because then, but still, it's a lot of money. So what is the base PlayStation 5? Because the other day I had, I chatted with Reforge Gaming when he had a live stream. And because he was actually saying, hey, he doesn't think that the PlayStation 5 Pro is overpriced. And I said, hey, wait a moment. Okay, so because I think in the US, so he compared base PlayStation 5 with PlayStation 5 Pro and said, hey, the price is okay. And I said, wait a moment, you're in the US, and I think the price difference is $150, $200. And so it's a complete different story. I just looked it up again. So the Pro here is $1,200 Australian dollars, and you get a digital base PlayStation 5 for $679. So that's almost a huge difference. That's a huge difference, of course. If it would be just $200, $300 more, I wouldn't complain at all. I would say, go for the Pro. Don't even bother with the base. But in this case, you can buy two almost. You can buy so many more games. Just think about that.
Yeah, it's a significant difference, that's for sure. I'm sorry to hear that it's so expensive in your country, man. Maybe look for a second-hand one. I'm seeing quite a few pop up, at least in my country. Christian Believer said, you're selling your 83-inch G4, so what size you're aiming for next? So I made the joke earlier that I could literally purchase 4 83-inch G4s for the price, less than the price of one 97-inch G4. I just don't know what they are doing with that, when obviously LCD TVs, the 100 inches, are so cheap. Like, we're seeing them sub $2,000. Obviously, they're cheap TVs here, but man, sub $2,000, you're getting a slightly larger TV. You really got to have cash and know exactly what you want. But in answer to your question, I'm just looking for someone to pick it up, and then I'll use that money and put a bit more in to get the G5 83 inch. 83 just seems like the limit for me right now. It's there's nothing better really, unless you're going to spend as much as a car.
No,
so
it doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
You know, that's so SMS again for real. 30 FPS on a $500-$600 console and a $100 game as a minimum for GTA 6 is unacceptable. So I wouldn't even put this just on GTA 6. So GTA 6 will most likely have a 30 FPS mode. I hope we have a 60 FPS mode as well. I hope for it. I would just say 30. That they should just develop games with 60 FPS in mind, because it is possible. It is possible. I mean, look at other games. I mean, let's just talk about Days Gone. Just compare this open world game, and yes, it is an open world game, the graphics, with other open world games where we're using Unreal Engine 5. Yes, I get it. Unreal Engine 5 can have so much more details and stuff like that, and it's probably much easier to develop. But just compare this from how sharp the picture is in Days Gone. It's a sharp picture, like crazy sharp. And then you look at other games, Unreal Engine 5, or just compare it with Oblivion. Yes, I know it's a 20-year-old game, but it's a remaster. So you should expect a big jump up, but the picture is absolutely soft, you know? So I rather have a little bit less details. We don't need to have 5 million different cobblestones, you know, or 5 million different leaves or whatever. But I like to have no aliasing and a perfect sharp picture.
And just forget about ray tracing.
I don't
as well.
Look,
ray tracing is so expensive on the budget for the graphics card, man. I absolutely agree. 30 FPS is unacceptable.
Yeah. I mean, ray tracing, but RTGI is a ray tracing global illumination as a minimum. This is apparently handled, or it's easily handled, or the PlayStation 5 Pro can actually handle this, because we have seen this in Assassin's Creed. There's no noticeable dip in terms of resolution or something else, and it looks just much, much better with this feature on. So yes, we should have some sort of graphical features, but not in cost of frame rate, you know?
Yeah.
As soon as it would cost frame rate, no, we can't do it. That's my opinion.
Yeah. We've also had people in the comments section saying Bend Studios are a first party.
Okay. Studio, and they did a siphon filter. This ancient game thingy thing. Very old, actually. I don't know when I played this the last time.
Christian Believer says, "Can I get away with an 83-inch 2.1 meters away from the screen?" That's still pretty damn close, man. Absolutely.
Do it. Just.
I sit much further back from my 83-inch. It's just due to the room, how it's built. You know, you've got to have the couches at the rear of the room and the TV at the front. And the room's just quite long, so to speak. But yeah, man, absolutely. Like that's all I can say is once you go up a size, it is so hard to go down. You know, I started at 65, went to 77, went to 83, and then I ran out of OLEDs to buy. So I went and got a 100-inch. And I mean, when I say I ran out of OLEDs to buy, I ran out of larger OLEDs to buy. So once you go up, and it's quite often, whether it's I'm watching sports or something, I'll generally go to the biggest TV in the house. I don't care about that kind of picture quality and stuff. So
we have another super chat here?
Oh, yes.
Oh, another one. Hey, thank you very much again.
Very I can't speak. Very generous. Thank you very much, Face.
Thank you very much. So I'm not switching to PC until Sony does a day and date with all the games, so I'll stick with 5 Pro for now. Yeah, okay. So he's waiting for when Sony or releases the game on the same day on PC. I don't think it will ever happen, honestly, because why would you have? I mean, I can understand why you would have a PlayStation over a PC because of the price, but I think there would be always this little bit of exclusive. I think Sony will not do that.
It'll be a timed release. They want people to buy their consoles still.
Nah, so was there any game what Sony released, first party games, obviously, and then it was on the same day on the PC? So far, no.
That I'm aware of, no.
But again, thank you very much for this absolute fantastic. So we have here, this is interesting. Okay, wait, who is this guy? The kid here. The kid says, can you give me your address? I want to climb on you, man. Oh, this is very nice. And then I'm driving to Germany right now. Just give me your address. Yeah, that's not a problem. So it's none of your fucking business 25 Boulevard. And yeah, you can look me up in Germany. That's not a problem, you know. Are you near Berlin? Close. I will be on the German border in 30 minutes. I'm coming, man. Yeah. Okay, I'm waiting for you. No worries. All good. You know I'm not in Germany, huh?
That is interesting.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's very interesting. Okay, well, how about this? I thought while some more questions come through, we might jump across to the latest video I was discussing earlier.
Yeah. We made a video.
So let me see. So yeah, Marcus and I created a video. So it was basically, can you tell the difference between HDR and SDR? So what we ended up doing was we got two TVs. One of them was an OLED. We had the G4, but I decided to use the C1 83-inch simply because it was in a light controlled room, so I could make everything dark, just like the studio you're looking at in the video.
Did you steal some part of my video, actually?
I did. I didn't ask you to, so you can absolutely copyright strike this video.
I will do this, yes. That's my first thing.
Oh my God, I've got an advertisement because I'm on my I'm advertising for other brands right now, so let me skip that. So yeah, so I guess if people who are watching the channel, please feel free to come across and check out the video Marcus and I created. But yeah, so one cool thing we did was I got a couple of buddies around who don't really know too much about TV. So right now Marcus is demonstrating on my G4 in my gaming room, and I guess yeah, you brought out the Spears and Munsell disc, right? And so what were you kind of explaining to them?
I can't remember, but I think I was explaining what we should look at when we. No, it was too much alcohol. No, there was almost none. That's the problem. No. I think we talked about, of course, specular highlights, and that HDR is not just about brightness, also more details in darker scenes and stuff like that, and contrast. All this kind of stuff. It was really a fun video because I was wrong with one guess.
Yeah, and I guess one thing I really noticed was that I guess it just really depends on how the content is mastered. So we moved over to the other room with my 83-inch C1. And so what we did was we played a couple of movies like The Dark Knight, what was the other one? Top Gun Maverick, The Moon Knight, and some Halo, which all had SDR and HDR versions. And basically what we did was we played a couple of scenes. So I got Marcus and everyone in the room to kind of cover their face, and I would pick either a HDR or an SDR version. And particularly this is more for, say, not so much for Marcus, but for the other guys who don't really know what they're looking at. And so it was kind of like a really interesting way to kind of showcase, okay, so these are some new people coming in who don't have OLEDs. They don't really have any experience with HDR and SDR. So as you can see here, we kind of like had SDR and HDR signs in our hands. It was a really fun day. Like, did you have a good time, Marcus?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, I was wrong. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was fine. You were wrong, but it was also I was watching it, and I knew what I was watching, and even in my head, I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I'd be able to pick this one."
It looks bad, and this was HDR. I mean, wow, okay, really bad. Anyway, it was so much fun. Really good.
So we played all that content. Then we went back over to kind of where I'm sitting now. So as you can see in the background, like that's my streaming PC and all that. And so the location I'm in now, the TV behind me, this is just an edge lit LCD TV. And so this is a new 86-inch LG. So when I say edge lit, you guys would know, no dimming zones. So what I did was more or less on this TV, it wasn't trying to determine what you were looking at, if it was HDR or SDR. I would actually show both. So I would show one version of the content and then swap to either the HDR or the SDR version. And then I would get them to watch the second one. So basically you'd watch an SDR or HDR version, not necessarily in that order. and then to see if you could tell the difference. And what was really interesting was on this, let's call it a crappy TV, edge lit. It's a big 86-inch, you know, but in terms of SDR and HDR, it was so difficult to figure out what you were looking at. Like, what were your thoughts around that?
Yeah, this was much more interesting, but it was still actually, I think I haven't had anything wrong on this TV, which is really interesting, because you still can see the better contrast. It's all about contrast. It's not about the brightest picture actually, and it was possible, you know. But again, there's no doubt that the C1 or G1 or G4 was much better. That's not an HDR TV at all.
Yeah, absolutely. But as I said, what was interesting though was that when you're watching HDR or SDR on this directly LCD TV, no dimming zones, even though the TV, you turn on the content, you know, the LG HDR banner pops up on the top right-hand corner. Obviously, the guys didn't see that. I was switching while they were blindfolded, but it just shows you, like, even on an OLED, SDR just looks so much better, you know, just due to the OLED properties, I guess. But yeah, we had a great time making this video, and we're kind of trying to show people, I guess, you know, I guess what I'm demonstrating here, you can see the screen's like gray. That's typical LCD. That's supposed to be black. So it was a really, really cool video, but I don't want to drag on with this too much, but I just thought I'd share it with Marcus's wonderful community. And I thought if anyone is interested, please jump across to the channel. Got a couple of videos there with Marcus already, and there's some more actually already in the pipeline coming across. So yeah, we had a good day, and once again I just wanted to thank Marcus for coming down. You know, you're such a gentleman. You fly down to Sydney to meet me, and you know, we had a great weekend together. So
no, it was good. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So oops, I stopped the camera. So yeah, I might share the link in the chat if you guys are interested to come and have a look after the live stream. I'd really appreciate that. But a couple of questions here, Marcus, waiting for you. So Face just said
we saw this. Chat. Yeah, thank you very much. Sometimes it takes a little bit until YouTube and until we noticing actually. So thank you very much again, Face. I think he's always there when we live streaming, huh?
Yeah, I remember. Good to see you, brother.
User, you know.
And I've just posted that link in the chat. So if you guys would be so kind to come and check out my content as well, I really appreciate that. And Marcus, and been so great to come and help me out as well. So I'm looking forward to some more in the future.
It's okay.
we sleep tip to toe. We don't sleep like spoon. So it's
that's what we had the borders. Okay, there are clear borders. Next time.
There you go. So here's one for you, Marcus. I'll let you jump on that one.
Given Sony's success with the PlayStation 5, without Sony having done anything special, do you think Sony could be even stingy with the PlayStation 6? Absolutely. I don't even need to finish the yes. That's how it is. I mean, the reason why Nintendo increased their price, and I think no one actually answered this. Is the Switch still available in the US? Yes or no? Because again, in Australia, it's still available on all sides, and I find the price crazy because it's more expensive than a base PlayStation 5. It's 769 Australian dollars with Mario Kart. Again, I pre-ordered. I'm fully responsible that Nintendo is going away or can do this, but I like to have this console, and it's probably from a how should I say, from a price perspective point of view, maybe I would even say that the Nintendo Switch is more worth the money than the PlayStation 5 because you have a screen, you have HDR, you can take it, you know what I mean? But still, it's expensive. It's almost $800 for a portable thing. Maybe that's the reason why it's still available here in Australia, because people are here a little bit more stingy, especially when it comes to products like that. You know, Australia is not a TV gaming country. You know, we have beaches, very nice beaches. You know, just saying.
Absolutely.
But yeah, let me know if the Switch is still available, because I would like to know this.
Here's one for you, Marcus. So what I would like from you in the future is for you to show us more of the difference between HDR10 and Dolby Vision games. That's a tricky one.
there's no. So I can maybe, if I find some time, I can do another video, but Dolby Vision gaming is dead. Okay, forget about this, because there is literally no game what is supporting Dolby Vision natively, and this is the main reason what you would need to have a difference between HDR10 and Dolby Vision. So the only game on the Xbox is still Halo Infinite, and on the PlayStation 5 there is no Dolby Vision support. So Dolby Vision gaming is dead, full stop. And the only reason why you, of course, I know that when you choose between HDR10 and Dolby Vision, you have a difference in regards to the picture quality or how the picture looks like. But this is not because Dolby Vision has a different HDR. That's because the picture preset is different. Okay, and we know that still until now the G4 has not a perfectly calibrated EOTF curve in Dolby Vision. It's not as perfect as HDR10. That's why I'm not recommending it anymore. Dolby Vision looks brighter from the mid brightness, from the mid tones compared to HDR10, but that's due to the wrong EOTF curve. Okay, so it's that. Forget about it. I was very excited about this, but if there's no content, what can you do?
Yeah. Mr. Walker asks, why do you select low-end LCDs, though, in comparison with OLED? Surely a mini LED with loads of dimming zones like a high-end Hisense or TCL would be more interesting. Is he asking you or me? I think he's asking you.
I don't know. Yeah,
possibly.
Are you asking about that, referring to the video I've made?
That's what I'm thinking.
Was purely because I had this TV at home. And this was the first TV I bought when I moved to Australia. And I thought I like to just see what is the difference between this and the G4, which is now, of course, I mean, 7 years difference. And we're talking about edge-lit LCD versus OLED TV. And yes, the difference is like crazy. You know what I mean? But it's then the question mark would be, is it worth to upgrade? And that's then a money question, if you can afford it. And just recently, I gave this TV away to a friend of mine because he has just a 46 or whatever, very old LCD TV, even worse than this one. And he's absolutely happy. For him, it was a step up. You know what I mean? So it's really always where you're coming from. I'm not saying this TV is bad. You know, just because I have the high-end TV, that means that you can't use all the other TVs anymore. You know, I'm talking from this level. That's our problem. What we have, that's really a problem, because we looking at this level, and then you look suddenly at this level and say, no, I can't go back. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's how it is. If you ever experienced high ends, you can't go back.
Yeah, well, it's also the restrictions that Marcus and I are faced with. We don't have relationships with TV companies where they can give us review samples, and generally, if they do, we're not expected to give negative. How do I say this? They don't like it if you give a negative review. So that's also a restriction, because for us to do something like that, we would have to go out and purchase a high-end mini LED with, you know, all the specifications you're asking out of our own money just for one video, you know, and you might get a $3 return on that video. So it's also a prohibitation. Is that the word? Prohibitive.
I have no idea. I never heard this word.
Yeah, it's also cost prohibitive. That's the word I'm looking for. So it's difficult. So as I said, I've got a bone pile here in my studio of all these TVs that are still, some of them are in the box. We pulled them out, did a video, put them back in the box. So if anyone's in Sydney and wants a couple of free TVs, man, hit me up. I've got a bunch of them. Yeah.
No, but it's really like the problem is that look, I have many friends, and for an example, my QN90B, what I had, the flagship LCD TV from Samsung, a lot of dimming zones, and I compared this with my CX, and I was not happy with this TV. So I gave it to a friend, or I sold it to a friend, because it was brand new. I just couldn't stand it compared to my CX. Okay, I was not happy with that. Okay, so I gave it to him, and he is wow, what a TV! But you know what I mean? It's different. We're looking very close. We are the problem. Okay, we are the problem. It's not the TV.
Well, it's also the fact that I always say, you know, when people ask me, oh, should I upgrade my TV? Should I get a bigger size? It's always the first thing that comes to mind is, do you own an OLED? Because once you go to an OLED, you just can't go back. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things. Comparing these, it's like if you own an OLED, man, that's it. That's you. You can't go back to an LCD TV. But another comment from Desotrix. Just recently got the PS5 Pro paired with the S90C, and I have to thank Marcus for his HDR videos. Really helpful in achieving the best out of the current games.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for watching my content. And that's, by the way, I have to say, so you don't need to, so thank you very much for all the super chats, okay, by the way, but you don't have to do this. What really supports the channel is liking, sharing, and watch the whole video. I'm not kidding. The longer you watch the video, the more ad revenue we get and the more games I can buy. That's how it is, you know. I'm not you know what I mean? It's not about purely making money with this channel, but at some point I would like to quit my job and do YouTube. And of course, if the income is not there, I can't do it. But that's my plan at some point, because unfortunately, everybody needs to earn money. But you don't need to spend money on me, okay? So you don't need, just watch the full video, please. Watch it twice, full video. Watch the advertising when it pops up. Don't click it away. That's all the stuff what brings the ad revenue down. No, that's how it is, unfortunately. YouTube is too smart for this, you know what I mean?
You watch most videos, I'm sure you have the same thing, Marcus. When you watch the analytics, like, you know, you have the stream that starts, everyone's watching, and then by like the first 30 seconds, you have like a 50% drop off, and then by the next minute or two, you're almost down to nothing. So yeah, watching the entire video is a big help.
This is, and then I try to figure this out, what is the best solution, because of course you want to deliver the message as soon as possible, you know, in terms of settings. And of course I would be able to do, because I had these comments as well. Oh, you know, it took you just 30 seconds to tell me the settings, why you make an 8-minute video. Yeah, for God's sake, because I'm analyzing and I like to share this, you know what I mean? It's the same as you would comment on a Digital Foundry video. Just tell me the summary in 30 seconds. It's the same, you know. If you're not interested in this content, then don't even watch it, okay? So, but what is really a little bit annoying is, as you said, you know, it starts, it drops like crazy, and then just a few people at the end. And this is what sometimes what makes me think, how can I change this? You know, do I have to have 2 dancers in the background, you know, with
bikinis
or whatever? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I'd subscribe to that. Mr. Walker said you can literally buy an 85-inch Hisense U8N or a TCL C855 mini LED for a better comparison to an $8,000 83-inch OLED Aussie pricer. So you might be referring to me when we did the TCL C755 versus the G4 83-inch. And again, yeah, it's basically comes down to cost. I went out and purchased that C755. Used it for 2 videos, a couple of comparisons, and yeah, one of them was extremes. It was a low end or mid low end LCD TV versus a high end 83-inch, and it was more about, like, you know, is it worth that huge discrepancy in money? But again, my friend, it's basically we're just going out and spending money on these TVs, and once you buy it, make a video, we're stuck with it. You can't just go and return it. So at least not in our country. So it's tricky, man. That's kind of where we're coming from.
But I agree with where he's coming from. It doesn't make sense to compare this to each other. But if you just have this on hand, then you do it. Why not? You know, and yeah, I'm not regretting doing my video with the 7-year-old LCD. It was fun for me as well to see what's going on. You know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, again, and I like to make this very clear, if you now do a video between, or back then, the G3 versus the G4, there's literally almost no difference. No, it will be most likely a little bit different with the G5 versus the G4, because there's a bigger step in peak brightness, but that's it. You know, according to FOMO, you have much better colors on the G5 compared to the G4, which is bad, because now I'm thinking about the G5. But
yeah. I just saw this comment drop in the bottom. I had to highlight it. Thank you, Chad. What a wonderful comment. So he said to Mr. Walker, super chat the price of the mini LED then. Brother, if you want that video, Marcus and I will happily make it if you want to send that cash.
I made this very, very clear. If someone wants to sponsor a specific video, like I'm peeling the anti-glare of the S95F and you pay the TV, go for it. I'm doing it. No problem. But it's hard, because we don't have money to spend like it doesn't work like that. Especially not after everything is so expensive here in Australia. It's just not normal. Food shopping. That's just, I don't know how other people doing this, to have proper food on the table. I know off topic, you can buy cheap food, but that's not healthy. I don't know how other people dealing with this.
And circling back to that, when I compared the C755 to the G4, some of the comments, man, I actually had to delete them. Some people were like sending threats because I didn't turn on a specific setting or I didn't calibrate them or what it may be. Just the comments, man, I sit there sometimes and I read them and I just think, this person's really upset that I didn't turn on a specific setting. So, yeah, it's just one of those things, we're all just trying to have fun. You got to remember, we do this because we're enthusiasts, we enjoy it. And, YouTube is one of those things. You do it because you like it, not because you try to make money out of it. That's just a bonus, because if you do it for money, man, you're going to be very disappointed.
Oh, that would be a different story then.
But you know what I mean? You've got to do it because you enjoy it, not money first. Because if you're chasing money, it's going to take years and it may not even happen.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that, because even I make money with YouTube now. It's not even, with all the equipment, what you have to buy and new microphone here, new this and whatever. No, it's no way. And as soon you have to buy a game for doing a video, it's anyway over. You know what I mean? Because the games are 120 Australian dollars and I need to have a lot of views to get this money back. A lot of views.
Absolutely.
So it's not that simple, okay?
Yeah. And just, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Happy to discuss anything. So what was the other game or did you have another comment you wanted to get to, Marcus?
Yeah, this one here. I'm driving to Karlsruhe now. Just give me an address, man. Yeah, soon.
We'll inbox you.
Yeah, we'll inbox you, no worries.
That's hilarious. So what was the other game you reviewed? So we discussed Days Gone at the beginning of the stream. What was the other one we were talking about? You just did a video on it.
I just did. No, Days Gone was literally the last video.
What was the other one
we were discussing?
Oblivion, yeah. So tell me about that.
Oblivion is a fantastic RGP if you like to have one of the best role-playing games, in my opinion. I mean, probably Morrowind is even better. I like Morrowind. Oblivion is fantastic, but the performance just sucks. Honestly, it's just terrible. And I had so many comments. You play this game. You start playing this game in the sewers. It's more or less the tutorial or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever, and then you step out. Out of the sewers, and then you have this wonderful open world. Oh my God, you don't know where to start with, you know what I mean? But then you start walking or running, and then you have this, stuttering, boom, you turn around and whatever. It's just not a great experience anymore. And as far as I remember, and just correct me if I'm wrong, but the old 20-year-old version had a 60 FPS update. Well, you can play it in 60 FPS, and apparently, I haven't tested it, unfortunately, but I think it's running flawless, more or less. Huh? Is it not the case? And this is what I don't understand. So, if you do a remaster, yes, do it, but do it in a proper way, because you're also charging money for this. Yes, it is on Game Pass, absolutely correct. But I bought it also on the PlayStation 5. I bought it to compare, with the Xbox. And I spent $99 or whatever,
Yikes.
And I will never play it or never finish it. You know what I mean? Because I also have it on a PC to compare it. That's how YouTube works. You have to spend money to make.
Well, that's another thing to think of, because even if you're purchasing 3, 4, 5 games a month to do your videos on, I'd be very surprised if you earn that money back on YouTube revenue just to pay off those games.
I don't. That's why I have to consider, but that's why I was asking actually community if they like to have a Forza 5 video, because Forza 5 is here 120 Australian dollars, the standard version. Yeah. Standard version is $120, and if you would like to have the early access where you can play 4 days early or whatever, is $150. And I said, no, I'm not spending $150 on a game, and then I do a video about it on a 5-year-old game. Even it's twice as as good looking as on the Xbox. No one will watch this video. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's no way I'm getting the money back. And it's not just, again, I'm not doing this for money, but I can't just spend the money and not getting anything back, because I don't have this kind of money just to spend, you know?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
absolutely.
And that's why I had to decide it, and Days Gone was, because I like to have a Days Gone 2. I like to have a sequel. That's why I decided, I'm going for Days Gone. It's $75. Even for just this remaster, $75 is a big joke in my opinion. But I rather spend the money for Ben Studios than Microsoft. Actually, honestly.
Oh, wow.
It's not Microsoft. Who is the developer for Forza? Bunch? No.
Playground, aren't they?
Playground. It doesn't matter. Anyway.
Yeah. Here's another question from Face. So he says he has a LG G4 65-inch. By the time I upgrade to a new LG 4 or 5 years from now, they'll be using QD OLED. Man, don't be surprised if 4 or 5 years from now there'll be something even better than OLED. I don't know. I just feel like the way the technology is evolving right now, and the LED TVs, like once they get that price down, once they move from mini to micro LED, that's going to be the next step forward.
I mean, I'm waiting. So I think Classy Tech did a S95F video and a G5 video so far. I just briefly looked at the videos. I need to do this at some point when I have time and can concentrate, because there's a lot of info, and you have to watch the videos. Actually, you can't just do this when you're driving. But I would really like to see the real world difference between those two TVs, because just numbers, just because a TV can do 500 nits more on a 10% window, that doesn't mean anything, honestly. It's the same what we have seen with cameras, 20,000 million megapixels.
Yeah.
And at the end, the cheap camera had a better picture. You know what I mean? So we need to be very careful with that, because I think the G5 is still probably the best TV to get at the moment.
I've said this before, but what really surprises me is that the WOLED technology LG is using has managed to keep reasonably close to the QD OLEDs. The G4 performed very well last year compared to the QD OLEDs, which are obviously a superior technology. But in some instances, some of the guys like Classy and KG would select the G4 over the QD OLED in certain circumstances. And now that the G5's coming out, that's getting even closer. So it's really interesting how LG are managing to squeeze so much out of that technology stack. So, even my mind, I was like, okay, I've got my G4 for sale. If I sell it, get a G5. Next year, they're going to improve on that even more. So it's like it's just you're chasing every year. So, it'll be very interesting to see what LG are doing in 4 or 5 years from now, for sure.
Yeah. Fena said, yes, you're absolutely right. I did an Expedition 33. Oh my God, what is this for word? Anyway, I did a video about what I was also a little bit disappointed. No HDR. I mean, it's an Unreal Engine game. It's really weird, and there's some comments actually that telling me that Unreal Engine is actually mastered from a HDR level, so that means actually everything, all the assets are available in HDR. All what they need to do is activate it. So that's what I heard. I'm not a developer. I haven't worked with Unreal Engine at all. But if it would be that easy, why are they not providing HDR? I don't get it. But I made a video about this because there are a couple of SDR settings, and the out-of-the-box settings are not perfect in my opinion. But HDR would be better.
That also raises another question. Obviously here, I would say the vast majority, if not all people joining us on this stream would have modern HDR capable TVs. But the question has to be asked, would the vast majority of these games being played, the vast majority of TVs these games are being played on, most people might just be playing on SDR. That's why they don't care so much. You know what I mean? It's almost all of my friends, no one owns an OLED, or none of my friends own an OLED.
Yeah, okay, so, but this is the same. I'm pretty sure that most of my subscribers, they're having a high-end panel. You know what I mean? Regardless if it's an LCD, QD, or OLED, because otherwise it wouldn't make much sense to subscribe to my channel. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Because my face is beautiful, I get this, but it's not all. So that's how it is. I mean, the majority absolutely has shitty screens at home, because that's what is happening. You buy a shitty screen 10 years ago, you upgrade your PC with a 5090, but you stick to your shitty screen.
Yeah,
that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and another thing I find interesting is, obviously I know we're a little bit extreme. We like to upgrade our TVs every year or 2 years or 3 years if we can financially justify it, and then people go, "You're crazy," or, they buy a TV and keep it for 5 years, which I generally recommend you do to get the most out of your money. But then people have no problem upgrading their phone every year. And, that's usually a $2,000+ expense.
I mean, it's just good that you bring it up, and thank you, Chris, again. So I spent for my iPhone 16 more than for the G4.
Is that true? Actually, you did.
That's true.
Wow.
Absolutely. It's $300 more for the iPhone 16.
That's
there's no rebate. There's no way you get this phone cheaper. Apple
Mind
doesn't care at
you
all.
got that G4 at a very special price.
Absolutely.
But still, valid point.
Absolutely. And I will do most likely the same with the G5. Because honestly, I spent $2,500 for the G4. Okay? That's
65 inch.
Wow, 65 inch. There's no question about I would upgrade. If I get the same offer for the G5, I get it. I do it. No question asked. The only issue that I have, what I'm doing with the TVs, I have no idea. I gave the CX to my brother-in-law. He is happy. Now the G2 is there, so that means this G4 would go where the S90C is, S95C is, and the S95C would go where the G2 is, and the G2 has to go. But where's the G2 going?
Well, you'll end up like me. You just have a bone pile of TVs sitting there, and you just don't know what to do with them. So people offer you next to nothing for the second-hand TVs. But yeah.
So us Wilco is actually right. Days Gone on the PC got the graphic update. Now, okay, I think it's not exactly the same. So because the remaster on the PlayStation 5 has a new. So PC has to pay for the new Horde mode. So that's new, but I'm not quite sure if PC got the same lighting update. I'm not quite sure. I might be wrong. If this is the case, that PC got all the new design features or whatsoever. I would call it design features because it's not a technical feature, new lighting or whatsoever. But if PC got this for free and I paid $75, it's my own fault. But that shows actually that PC gaming in general, when we're talking about games, it's much cheaper. It is much cheaper. Full stop. You pay a heaps amount on hardware compared to console, but on a long run, it's probably even cheaper on PC. But I like my PlayStation and my Xbox. So what do you think of Ninja Gaiden 4? So when is it coming out? Is there already a time and day and whatever? It's made by Platinum Games and Team Ninja. Of course, Team Ninja. The publisher will be Xbox Studios. It's after 2007 years. Okay, the first Platinum release for Xbox in 8 years. I think Ninja Gaiden was one of my favorite games back then when it was released. I can't remember which one, honestly, but I really do like it. I hope it's not in Unreal Engine 5.
Here's a funny comment. So Fenor said, I would feed my C4 before my kids if it needed food. Yeah, man, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, why not? I mean, hey, that's how it is.
It's an expensive habit, man. Let's be honest. So Mr. Walker said, okay, I think mini LED TVs are relevant still if you're looking at price. Would you choose a 55-inch OLED for the same price as an 83 mini LED with dimming zones? I think you mean 85, but I get your point. I certainly would choose the larger TV.
I mean, in this case, yes, you're right. So the problem what I had with the Q90B or whatever, a Q95B, is because I had literally both TVs next to each other. You know, in my old room where I had my old studio in, both TVs on the same. You know, it was so noticeable when you compare the same game and with an HDMI splitter and whatsoever. And I said, no, there's no way that the CX has actually the better picture than compared to this Q90 whatever with 1700 nits peak brightness, you know. But in terms of contrast and stuff like that, the CX was just better. I like the picture much better.
Well, another interesting point is in one of the videos you and I did together, it's on my channel if anyone's interested. I'm sorry I keep plugging my channel, but we compared the TCL C755 versus a Hisense and a Telefunken. Three, I'd say mid to low range LCD TVs. And when we had them in the studio, as I said, I might put the link in the chat for people who want to check that out. By the end of the testing, we thought the TCL C755 was a really good TV, and we were like drooling over it, going, man, this is sick. This is sick. Then part 2 of the video, if you remember, we picked up that TV and we took it in and put it next to my G4. And as soon as we put it next to my G4, we were like, is this the same TV? This TV looks trash. And so it just goes to show you, like, when you compare something, you know, that's when you're going to be disappointed. When you go look for imperfections or problems or differences, you're going to find it. So, you know, that's the thing. If you want to go and get a large display mini LED TV, if you're not putting it next to an OLED, that TV is going to look fantastic.
But this TV was good, but yeah, I agree. As soon as we put this next to the G4, I said, okay. And the problem is also the size difference, of course. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a big problem. But I agree. You know. Anyway, so this is annoying. PC update got the new lighting and whatnot from the Pro update. So that means basically I had to spend on the console. I had to spend $75 because I traded in my original disc. Otherwise, it would be probably $20, but nevertheless, it would be still $20. And on Xbox, on a PC, you open Steam and it's downloading the new graphic modes. That's a joke. That's actually really a joke, and that's why. No, it's a joke. I don't want to. This must be a rant video actually, but I don't like to do this kind of stuff videos. But this is annoying. You know, why are the console players getting charged with stuff like that? And the answer is because they can do it. Because we're paying for it. That's how it is.
You're a locked ecosystem. You don't have access to different stores. And I think that may happen. Say Xbox decides to pack it up and then we just have a monopoly with PlayStation. I think there will have to be some sort of intervention where they open up to alternative stores with alternative prices, because that'll just be a monopoly and they can just charge whatever they want. So yeah, it is a bit frustrating when you see things like that. They get all the PC gets all these updates. So I don't think that's fair, but if you have a console, you don't have a choice, do you? You're stuck.
Yeah, no, it's just again, it's my own fault because no one forced me to buy this game. I get this, you know, but it's just it's not. I wouldn't say it's fair. It's fair because again, you don't need to do it. You don't need to buy anything, but still, it's a little bit of I don't know. I really don't know. Whatever. So the PC version didn't get DLSS support. Okay, you don't need this for this game. This game runs perfectly. I mean, this is such a well-optimized. I don't even know what engine they're using, but I would actually recommend using this engine moving forward for all the games instead of Unreal Engine 5, because it's so fantastic, flawless, in my opinion. So in regards of unlocked VRR and stuff like that, there will be another patch coming to the PlayStation 5 and Pro with a 40 FPS mode. That's announced. If there's an unlocked 120 Hertz mode, I would hope so, because the game on the PlayStation 5 can easily run with higher frame rate. Yes, it's using Unreal Engine 4. Yes. And Unreal Engine 4 is just perfect. You know what I mean? It's really
also
good. Unreal Engine.
Just for the chat, I've also posted both links to part 1 and part 2 of those videos in the chat. If anyone is interested to go see it, see them. So as I mentioned, we got 3 LCD TVs. I think the Telefunken was really good. We found it just like a local kind of Kmart type store. People might know that in the States, but basically we went and bought the cheapest 55-inch LCD we could find, and it supported 4K, 144 hertz. It was really interesting to put that up against, say, like a TCL, which is considered like a budget brand, I would say. And then you get something that's like a budget brand, and it actually performed quite well in SDR. It had really good features. And I think if you remember correctly, the Telefunken, which was the cheapest TV on the day, at least in part 1, I actually felt that the 120 frames on that TV was performing the best. It just felt so smooth. I don't know if it was just our perception or if it was just, I don't know. But it is interesting when you start comparing all those different TVs to one another. But the problem is, once again, we picked a TV that we thought was the winner. Part 2, we took the winner to put it near the G4, and we're like, this is trash.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, it's very interesting.
It's not again, I get it. It's not a fair comparison, but it's a comparison.
It's an interesting one.
Correct. Why always compare? So comparing the G5 to the G4 is going to be interesting, yes, but it's not like a day and night difference. I guarantee you it is. It's not a day and night difference. It's a day and night difference when you're coming from a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old TV. Then. Yeah. And this should be done more often, because then you can think about it. Okay, so I'm using my G5 now for another 5 to 10 years, maybe it doesn't work like that, but anyway. And but now I have to spend $5,000. So that makes $500 per year. Is it actually worth it?
Yeah,
or maybe not.
Yeah, and a couple of terms I get very frustrated hearing. I hear a lot from TV reviewers, and I'm not targeting anyone in particular, but I hear day and night, game changer, when people refer to these things, like sometimes when we're comparing, I'm hearing people go, oh, the G4 to the G5, oh, it's day and night, this is a game changer. Man, we're talking like mini differences. Correct. You know what I mean? Is it better? Of course.
Yeah, but it's not a day and night difference. Day and night difference is the new lighting in Days Gone. That's a day and night difference, literally. And I said this in my video like that because it's literally a day and night difference, because now you have night. You know what I mean? In the game. But I'm just waiting because I got so many nasty comments on this. When I said, look, the PlayStation 4 version is just good, very, very good, and PlayStation 5 Pro is on the same level. There's no difference, from a technical point of view. Again, I think that probably some people can't distinguish between technical resolution, stuff like that, and textures and whatever, and design changes. You know what I mean? Of course, there's a huge design change in the remaster version, and I'm not denying this. And I told you it's looking much, much better. On top, we have now HDR system level calibration support, which also improves HDR in this game. So yes, the remaster version is better, but not from a technical point of view in terms of resolution. Anyway, I'm just repeating myself.
No, of course.
It's almost 2 hours.
Almost 2 hours. So yeah, for the last 13 minutes, I guess, if there are any further questions, we can quickly get to them. So here's a question for you, Marcus. Do you guys use ICC profiles and the HDR calibration app for your monitors on PC?
Yeah. So I'm not using. Oh, okay. So I'm using the HDR calibration app. And I think as soon you do this, you actually use also an ICC profile. But that's just purely for the setting what you do on the HDR calibration screen. I never used a different ICC profile to change the colors or whatever on my screen. No, never. I would always do this calibrating, in terms of changing the inputs actually, and not just the PC. I never have done this, and I have not very good experience with ICC profiles anyway on the PCs.
And just quickly, remember when you calibrated my 83-inch C1? So please forgive me, my memory is a little bit hazy, but there was particular functionality built into the C1 where you could connect your calibration tool directly to the C1, but that doesn't exist anymore. Is that correct?
So Calman, when you buy the software, you can use the auto calibration functionality. So apparently they added it now on the G4 as well. It was not available for the first couple of months when the TV was released.
What about the 2 and 3?
2 and 3 also. It's okay. Working on the G2 and whatever, it's working. It was also working on the CX at some point. The problem is that, yes, on the CX, G1, G2 is already getting into a level where you don't need to calibrate maybe anymore. G3, G4, there's no need anymore to touch this TV, in my opinion. I might be wrong because, all the TVs are slightly different in terms of sizes. Classy would be probably say, oh, no, don't say this because I need calibrate, because he's doing calibrations and whatever. But he will be also probably telling they're really on spot already. You know what I mean? There's not much you have to do anymore. Dolby Vision is a different story in terms of calibration, because this is always, I don't know, not on spot on all the LG TVs. Not sure why, but they're getting better. You know, so.
Yeah, I will say, going between, because I have two 83-inch C1s, and I will say, going from the one you calibrated to the one you didn't calibrate, I didn't initially see the major difference, but now that I've spent more time on that C1, I can actually see it going over to the uncalibrated one. It is like there is a reasonable difference. I can certainly tell skin tones, different things like
but
that.
That's the G1, correct? It's C1.
No, the C1, yeah.
Yeah, the C1. So also CX, C1, and G2, probably C2. They're not very good out of the box, and had very big differences from the panels and sizes. You know, so that my CX was way too greenish, for an example, way too greenish. But again, the G4, I put this on the wall, and all the issues what I had, you know, with whatever vertical bending and aside, I turn it on, put an HDR test on, and said, this is perfect. Let's just leave it. And the next day, I broke the TV in, you know, some break-in pictures and whatever. Next day, tested it and said, so I'm not even putting my meter on. I don't even want to know it. This is perfect.
Well, next time you come to my place, because one of our videos, we reset my 100-inch TV to do a kind of by hand eye calibration. You calibrated that, and I can't get it back to the way it was. It actually made a reasonable difference. So next time you come to my place, I'd love to have you recalibrate my 100-inch, please, if that's possible. But it certainly makes a difference.
Charge some money for that.
Man, I'm happy to pay you, brother. But one other thing I know that Apple TV has its own calibration. Have you seen that, where you hold your iPhone against the display, and it'll calibrate itself? So that's something I'm actually want to try.
But the Samsung as well. Samsung is doing this as well. I can use this with an Android LCD, Android smartphone on my S90C as well. Okay. But it will be it's probably a terrible experience. You know what I mean? It's because it really your smartphone camera is not the same as a color spectroradiometer or whatever you use, you know, to calibrate. That it doesn't work like that. You know, it's not that simple. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So don't do this. Okay, I would not recommend to do this. Just last 2-3 comments. AC Shadows is night and day better on PlayStation 5 Pro. Yes, I fully agree. Thanks to RTGI lighting, not because of resolution or PSSR. Okay, it's because of the design feature what they put in, and of course RTGI costs a lot of performance, but the PlayStation 5 is more than capable of doing this with 60 FPS. So perfect. That's a good example for having a PlayStation 5 Pro. Days Gone, the remaster, is not a good example in my opinion. Not at all.
Anyway. So you would recommend me just get a PS4 version and play that on my PS5?
No. You never played it. So the problem is, so it's literally like that. So the remaster version on the PlayStation 5 Pro has a lower resolution and a lower image quality than the original PlayStation 4 version. Fact. That's a fact. Watch my videos, and I'm waiting for Digital Foundry to confirm this. And I hope they actually confirm this and not having issues with not getting supported by Sony anymore, stuff like that. But that's a fact, because on the so the PlayStation 5 remaster version is offering 1440p 60 FPS. So the PlayStation 4 version with backwards compatibility mode has a 2160p checkerboard rendering. So checkerboard back then, you know what I mean? Checkerboard is not perfect, we know this, but it's a much higher resolution. And you compare the pictures, say, oh my God, this is sharp, this is not sharp. Even when you play the game, motion is better on the PlayStation 4 version because of the much higher resolution. You know, PSSR on the other hand, then with PlayStation 5 Pro, is the motion quality is higher because checkerboard is not very good with motion, but it's not a, you know what I mean? It's the same level more or less, and you pay $75, or at least here in Australia. But get the remaster version, because it has better lighting, better HDR support, and stuff like that.
Just final kind of comments here. So, as Wilco said, still waiting for Silent Hill 2 to be fixed on the Pro, as it's been broken since November, but I don't expect them to do a patch for it at this point.
That would be actually a really interesting videos. You know, I made for Horizon Forbidden West, I don't know how many videos I made. Every time when there was a patch or whatever, I made a video and I tried to, did they fix it, you know? And no, didn't fix it, blah, blah, blah. So, but there's not even a patch coming for Silent Hill. So what's the point of a video, you know? But this is mind blowing. We're talking about a AAA game. That's, you know what I mean? And everybody was waiting for this. And the game is not bad, you know, had its downsides, you know, frame drops and whatsoever. And then we had this PlayStation 5 Pro enhancement. And it was like, what are they doing? It's worse than before. And people also didn't believe it. You know, there's still people that didn't believe it. Even after they took the patch down or the enhanced mode on the 60 FPS mode, and it's now just on 30 FPS mode, which... Anyway, still people are, no, what are you talking about? You know? I hate this.
Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up the stream. And there's final comment from Mr. Walker. Enjoyed your LCD versus OLED TV comparison video. I thought that was really good. And as people often say, you know, oh, it's not fair. This is an old TV, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just interesting for, you know, to see those comparisons, like where technology has leapfrogged and where we were and where we are. So I do find that stuff interesting. So I know what it's all about with negative comments, man. Just keep doing your stuff. I think you do a really good favor for the community out there, and I don't think you get thanked enough. And I know how often you grind when you're pumping several videos out a week. I don't know how you find the time with family and all that stuff. It's crazy.
It's not much sleep. That's what is happening. That's a problem. Anyway, no complaining. That's it. Okay. Absolutely. All good.
Yeah. Great and from Fëanor, thanks for the stream, chaps. Look forward to it next time. And thank you for everyone who has joined us. As always, we really appreciate it. Keeps Marcus and I coming back every week. And I think we just enjoy getting to interact with the community and answering questions and just discussing what's going on. So yeah, I always have a great time. So thank you for having me. And
no worries,
Mr. Marcus.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So see you guys next time, okay? Whenever this is, okay? Thank you very much again. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.